Hello, happy Saturday. Here we are again, fulfilling our indie game dev contract to be doing dev as often as reasonably possible. So here we go. Happy Saturday. Or whatever day it is for you. If you're watching this on the VODs or something. Hope things are going well. Let's get some different tunes going. These tunes are making me sleepy. Ooh, there's a spooky station. We're going to use that later. We're definitely going to use that later. You know, I'm going to try to play chiptune music. I think it's going to be a little too aggro, but I'm going to try some different stuff. Let's try it. We'll see. All right, so it looks like last thing we did was add like a validation buffer. I think everything's working right now. No, we identified a number of bugs that we need to fix. I remember. There is a bug with the paste function for like copy paste. I remember that. And there's some outline, some auto tiler rules here that I don't agree with. I don't quite remember where those auto tiling disagreements are. Oh yeah, I think we want to change the circumstances in which a behind the wall, like here. You can kind of see where I put this extra block. There's like a weird double outline here. I don't think we want that sort of thing coming from behind, so I need to disable that. There's also a weird outline thing happening here. Just curious. Where we're like outside, facing inside, and there's this black outline. So we'll fix a couple. We'll probably fix that. I'm pretty concerned about what's going on with the copy paste. Like if I just copy this whole floor. So the copy seems fine. There's an edge. The edge is right here, so like we can't go any farther. Problem is, if I like try to paste this, it only gets that one corner and it's gone. Yeah, so it's a block settlement issue, I think. Oh, we crashed. Cursored bounds equals cursored bounds dot resize bounds dot span room. For each room in cursored rooms, room 4. Cursored bounds, cursored rooms. Value, bit field. Oh no, it's the bounds. Wait. What is this bounds.span thing? That's not that doesn't make any sense. Oh, it's a buffer of bounds. God, I'm confusing the way I write this. Length 4. Huh. Length 4. Room 4. Bounds.span room 4. How is that happening? Let's look at this value. It's the raw value of this. 24. How do you get to a value of 24? Is it 1, 2, 4, 8? No, that wouldn't do it. Wonder how we get to that. All right, let's ignore that for now. Yeah, let's try to figure out this copy-paste thing that's happening. So copy and cut seem to be fine. Reveal block forms, prior bounds, preview blocks. Copy to clipboard should be fine. All right, it's the paste that is causing a problem here, I think. Where's paste? Paste. Subtle buffer changes equals true. Hidden forms dot clear. Interesting. Hover. So the hover must be the thing. So when we have our clipboard, it's active. We're quote-unquote hovering, which is our word for the mouse is just kind of floating around. You haven't clicked anything. But if you have an active clipboard, that means that your clipboard is like moving around and it's showing where it would be if you placed it. Or pasted it. I feel like I need to change place to do something when you begin a placement if the clipboard is active. Maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, I've had so much coffee. Why am I yawning? It's too early to be yawning. All right, so when we do a hover, if active block tool, whatever, else if clipboard active, this is what we care about. Offset equals coords minus clipboard active. Merge block forms. I don't think this should be a merge. I think this should be a usurp. Just a silly way to talk about this. Looks like it used to be a merge. think it should be a usurp because I think if you copy something and you move it over, you expect the place that you move it over to look exactly like what you copied. That's my thinking on this. I don't think we have a variation that takes this, though. It's kind of a weird variation. It's this variation. Wait, hidden forms.triad coords input.span. That's wrong. Output.span. All right, super simple test. Just take like half the room or something. Okay, here it is. Whoa. What's going on with the edge here? Oh, it's because I included that with the... I see, I see. That's why I have it set to be a merge. You know, that's probably okay. I'll probably change it back. Paste. All right. Okay, okay, okay. And then let's try that again. Cut. Paste. Okay, that seems to work, but yeah, I guess I don't want this to be a usurp. I do want it to be a merge. Okie doke. Well, let's just take this, put it back, rename it. Just popped in your recommend. That's a ton of episodes. Hey, thanks. Thanks, Aviant. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we just passed our last Power of 2 episode yesterday. We got episode 256 episodes of working on this. It's gonna be a while till our next Power of 2 episode. But that was cool. Whenever that happens, we go back and we look at our last Power of 2 episode. So yesterday was fun. We looked at episode 128, and part of episode 128 was us looking back at episode 64. And we just kind of see our progress. It's pretty big, if subtle. But how are you doing? Happy Saturday. Pleased to hear that this ended up in your recommends. That's very cool. Yeah, this is just a low-key game dev co-working stream, you know, nothing crazy. We're working on this block editor for this isometric FTL-like game. Low powers of 2. 128's your favorite number? Yeah, cool. Yeah, our 128 episode wasn't that long ago. I think it was January of this year. Our next Power of 2 episode, I think I'm estimating that if we keep up the same pace, it's going to be like early 2027. That's crazy. I should probably try to get some more episodes in there. But we do this part-time. I have a day job, you know. But we're doing game dev. And we're not always working on this project. Sometimes we're working on game jams, like little weekend game jams and stuff. But usually we're working on this kind of stuff here. So there's an auto tiler rule I need to fix. So I don't like what happens when you what happens when you have like something jutting out here. And you try to draw, you can see this orphan pixel, but we try to draw the outline behind. And that's so stupid because you can't see it. And the only time you can see it, it looks weird. Like here, you can kind of see it. So I want to stop that. So that's the positive neighbor. We draw the outline. What is telling us to draw the outline here? I guess we want to check to see if there's like a wall in front of us, like catty corner, like positive, diagonal neighbor. And if there is, we could just not draw the outline. There's also this top outline. This line should disappear, and it doesn't, and I'm curious about it. It disappears here, but not here. So let's work on those a little bit. So 5 total would be amazing. You ask what FTL is? Yeah, sure. So we're working on this kind of isometric 2D little starship game. It's based on a game called FTL Faster Than Light. Classic subset game. Amazing. 45,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews. It's a great little game. It's a little top-down 2D game about managing a spaceship and all your systems and stuff. It's like very Star Trek, you know? And I'm trying to do like, I kind of want to do like an isometric 2D with some verticality, which is why you see us building this 3D block editor rather than doing this top-down 2D thing. So that's how I'm kind of trying to iterate on it. I'm trying to take a compelling 2D game and kind of translate it into a little bit more of a 3D environment. We'll see. We'll see if it works out. We'll see if it's worse. As long as it's not too much worse, I think I'll be okay. You heard of that? Yeah, it's a classic. I think it has probably something like a few million lifetime sales. So it's not like a household name, but, you know, people remember it. A new game recently came out very much in the same vein called Void War. It's like very directly... Good for them. They're doing good. They're having a good time. People seem to like it. It's like literally Warhammer FTL. Like that's literally a chaos spaceship. It's crazy that they aren't getting sued by anybody. But yeah, they made this FTL. Like the shield icon is like the same. Like you'll see when we get to the UI screen that it's like basically an identical game. Here, I'm gonna jump ahead. Look at that. I'm gonna go back and pause. Look at this. It's like literally FTL. It's incredible. The cojones to just take one property, to take one person's intellectual property and mash it up against another person's intellectual property and just be like, this is probably fine. Great game, though. So that's also a fun, if you want kind of more of a, you want a different kind of variation on this style. Fun stuff, though. Nobody's really filling that void, as it were. Haha. So I hope it's still like a vibrant area to be, you know, putting a game out in, you know, someday when we're ready. What am I going to test? I guess I should test the block merge really quick before I fix the auto tiler. You feel that maybe putting what FTL means in the description may help? Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. It's a good idea, but I kind of like people asking what it is. It provides a good opportunity to talk about it. I'm kind of just calling it an FTL-like so I can avoid using the word roguelike or anything like that. Trying to avoid that. So what am I testing? I'm testing the merge, the block merge for the copy-paste thing. Let's try to test it Let's test it, like, with some verticality. So what if I just take, like, half this chunk, copy it. Okay, so that behaves super weirdly. Why is it trying to insert this? There's some weird blank space that's appearing. That should not be... Oh, I didn't rewrite the function. I just copied the function and renamed it. So this needs to be... output dot span index dot set. That'll work as intended. Probably get away with it if FTL doesn't have a patent on the UI. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate you hanging out. If you're having a good weekend. If you're doing any game dev, I would love to hear about it. That's usually why people come in here, you know? They're also game devs. And it's nice that there's this way to hang out here. All right, so let's do this again. There shouldn't be any, like, negative space getting copied over when it's done this way. Yeah, okay, that's a smooth overlap. We're just kind of interleaving what we've got with what's here. It's been cut away when you're trying to see it, so if I pop this on here, paste it. Huh. Blood fill is running. Blood fill is running, and it's running very slowly. That's a little concerning. This wall should not be light gray. I wonder what's happening there. What if I pop a hole in the wall here? Okay. Oh, weird. Why did that kind of hang like that? We have a flood fill system that runs after we make a change, and it does things like figure out where the compartments are. So like this light gray means that it's like sealed. So if I like bust a hole in the wall, the system, it turns it to dark gray, and the cutaway system stops working the same way. It doesn't compartment-based cutaway because it knows that this is outside now. Treats it differently. It's weird that it kind of froze, though, after I made that one change. Oh, we have to keep an eye on that. You're in a game dev block? Nice, nice. Or not nice. Block like writer's block, like you're like stuck, or like you're in like a cohort doing like work on game dev stuff. Sorry for the latency. It's mostly me. It's a little bit YouTube and mostly me. Not reading text. Not reading chat quickly enough. So, very weird. I'm going to double check the sync function that syncs back. So the sync back buffer. Sync back buffer changes, not sync back buffer changes. The sync back buffer changes. Room blocks, preview settled span, copy to. Grab that. Copy to. Okay, that seems fine. I really want to turn this projection, this shadow projection, back on. I would need to figure out what layer that would be drawing to. Probably the hover layer. Like art block, latency your favorite. Yeah, okay, so you're kind of stuck a little bit. That's unfortunate. Luckily, game dev is so big. I find the task of making a game so big that if I get stuck on one thing, I can usually find something else to work on. Unless it's just an overall motivation issue, that can be tougher. Or finding the time or something like that. That can be tougher to handle, I guess. But yeah, working on a game is such a wide-ranging... What am I doing right now? Oh, yeah. We're going to tweak some of the auto-tiling rules. So we want to go to block X. Get bulk X. We want to go to bulk X. Here we go. And we want to look at the positive X edge. Yeah, this is so simple. So we want a condition here. So if hulls try get value key plus Y out hull adjacent position Y. What's an X edge? And mask is not equal to null. And mask contains key.xyz plus vector 3i.y. Or mask is null and adjacent position. This is it. So we need another or. So we want to prevent the outline from being drawn. That's what I was talking about with the catty corner stuff. Where can I put this? I think I could nest it in here. So we could say or. I don't know if I need the mask is null thing. Or I don't know if I need to consider that for this. But all I really want to say is hulls try get value key plus vector 3i.xy out hull adjacent positive xy. Actually, can I just discard this? I can just discard it. This might work. Let's take a look. Fortunately, you're experiencing art block and coder's block simultaneously. Oh no. And lack of motivation? Oof. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know how one gets over that. Maybe if you could, like, I mean, the motivation thing is tough because it's like, if I get stuck on a project, if it's really bad, maybe I would consider doing like a game jam or something to try to just get into a different problem. But if you also having an issue with motivation, yeah, that's tough. I don't know how to deal with that simultaneously. All right, so what if I put a block here? Okay. Okay. So far, so good. Does that cause any, like, weird side effects, though? All right, that's good. So we need the same trick up here. Let's get rid of these braces. I never realized that these branches were going to be so... Well, we kind of punted on these. We're not actually seriously considering the corner cases yet. That's because there's nothing to really do. So we don't really care. You're not sure if that was on purpose. The background looks like Unity's default 2D background. Oh, you mean the color? Like the clear color? Like the environment clear color when I like run this thing? Like just the random blue color I picked? Yeah, that's kind of funny. That wasn't conscious, but that probably had an impact on me because I used Unity for a long time. Like about 15 years or so on and off. On and off is the wrong word, you know, barring, you know, varying levels of engagement and motivation. I switched to Godot about 2 years ago. I'm very pleased, and I don't think I'll go back, but, you know, it's definitely influenced me. Like, that's part of the reason why I'm here programming in C# for sure. All right, so what we want to do is we want to add that additional condition. We want to say or calls try to get value call key plus vector3i.xy out. Can I just discard here before I even declare the type? Yeah, I can. I also need to put the same condition here. You could never get used to Unity. It never meshed with you the way that Godot does. Yeah, I really enjoy the usability of Godot. It's really good. It's really good. Especially since I, you know, have a lot of experience about the other ways it can be. Godot is really refreshing. I absolutely adore it for 2D, which is probably why I'm making this isometric 2D style game. It's kind of all I ever want to do. Is 2D games, which 2D games are not satisfactorily done in like any other engine. Like it's some kind of a hack in most of the 3D engines, right? Like Unity can do 2D games, Unreal can do 2D games, but it feels like a hack compared to the way Godot does it. Like because Godot's transform system is tied to the viewport. So like a pixel of movement is a pixel of movement. It's one unit of movement. None of this fuzzy, unaligned nonsense that you'll get with like a 3D engine that's just kind of faking the 2D part, which is typically how it's done. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Godot is the best. All right, that should just work. So that should fix that one little auto tile thing we had that we don't like. So now if we add these like blocks on the sides here, we don't have that outline poking in from behind. That's nice. That's a lot cleaner. I really don't like that orphan pixel that shows up. I think I'm okay with it. It's really hard to see, but you can kind of see it on the inside of a wall. And I think I'm okay with that because, one, it's a darker material, and it probably always will be. Because it's like the interstitial stuff. Like, like right now it's just a flat dark gray, but the most it's ever going to be is like piping and like conduits and like metal gears and stuff. So it's always going to be kind of a weird mess. So I think that orphan pixel in there is okay. All right, now we need to deal with this top line outline. This outline should not appear. It should be like this. It should be flesh on the bottom because it's the same material. But for some reason, when you do the half wall cut, it doesn't. The half wall cut adds the outline back for some reason. And it looks like it's being added to the front block. So the front block needs to look behind it. The block in front, it needs to look behind it and decide. I think I understand what this needs to be. It needs to be a check of like, well, if we're being cut away, are we being cut away the same amount? If we're being cut away the same amount and we're the same material, we should be able to get rid of the outline. Or maybe not the same material. That's wrong. That's wrongly put. That's actually probably why it's not working. Is because it's not... doesn't consider it the same hull. That shouldn't matter. So this is affecting the bulk Z tile, so we're already here. So let's look at the bulk Z tile. You're having a hard time seeing the pixel even after I pointed it out. Yeah, the contrast makes it kind of hard, which is part of why I'm okay with it being there. Because it's a black outline against a relatively dark surface. I actually don't totally understand what I'm going to do with the outlines in the long term, because the outline doesn't totally make sense for a spaceship to have against like the blackness of space. It doesn't really make sense to have a black outline, but we could always just change the color, I guess. I'm tempted to only do outlining on interior surfaces, and that would be a whole other thing to set up. Wouldn't be that bad, but it would be a whole thing. Yeah, it would be a lot. You'd actually need to paint the outline as a separate layer of as the underlying texture, which would be okay, but it would double the number of tile map layers we have. All right, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at these negative edge evaluations, because we're looking at the edge along back towards the rear of the camera. Not the camera, back towards the rear of the scene, away from the camera. All right, I kind of like this radio station. I don't like this song. Wow, I looked at the waveform and it was just like a solid brick. Usually we listen to much more chill music, but it's Saturday. I'm trying to stay a little hype. I acknowledge I'm not talking as much, so hopefully the music's a little more interesting than usual. Man, it was such a nice day today outside. I was walking back from my breakfast to a little diner for breakfast, The typical thing that happens is I start walking home and my feet just want to carry me to the beach. It just wants to carry me to the ocean. And it takes like a lot of willpower to just not do that. Just walk down to the beach. Looks like the wind is picking up though, so it's maybe good I didn't do that. Maybe good I'm doing this instead. You don't want to get sand all in your face. And everywhere else. So what we need to do... So we have this if cutaway.has cutaway.extents.halfbulk is the same as the cutaway for the minus x position. Wait, cutaway.has cutaway.extents.halfbulk is equal to cutaway's key minus vector 3i.x.has cutaway extents halfbulk. So this is the line that should be letting this happen. Some line after this is making it illegal, and I think it's this. I think it's this adjacent negative x equals hull. So what we can do is we can actually move this down, I think. I think we can try this and see if this works. You just got hit with inspiration and then you lost it immediately? Oh no. It's relatively rainy where you are. Ooh, that's kind of nice. This is a high humidity area because we're right by the sea, but it doesn't rain here, and I miss that. It used to rain a lot in years past. It used to rain here so much, but you know it's the world we live in today. There's a lot less of that, or in some places there's far too much. All right, that had no impact, which is curious. Shouldn't this outline generally be coming back to front? Isn't that kind of the world I'm trying to live in right now? Yeah, like... Oh, that's weird. I think I did this. See if I can restore that part. This music's pretty hype. Oh, Bad Cop, what's up? Happy Saturday. I forgot. Did you say you wanted to join the Cave Room 2 team? You said yeah, right? Oh my god. I don't know if I said it exactly like that. How's it going? Sounds like you may be overscoped or understaffed. The music is musicking. Yeah, I think it's musicking a little too hard right now. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Well, I reverted that one problem, that one error, but we still have this one. So we made some changes a while ago so that these outlines and stuff, they're really supposed to defer to the tiles. Like, what the heck is happening here? They're really supposed to be deferring to the tiles in front of them, and that is not happening. Like, what the heck is this? Big straight line. That's not good. I don't like that. I'm getting kind of mired in the weeds a little bit on this, but that's not good. All your programmers left you? Oh my god. You must be an absolute tyrant, bad cop. I mean, it's in the name, I guess. Oh, now we're listening to a Chipsel song. That's great. We love Chipsel. I almost met Chipsel. That's my claim to fame. They were hanging out with Terry Kavanaugh at Day of the Devs one year. And I couldn't bring myself to talk to Terry Kavanaugh, which meant I couldn't meet Chipsel. Terry Kavanaugh is too dope. Too much of a meet your hero kind of situation. Well, you teleported to Twitch. Hey, the Ant. Thank you. Thank you for making the jump. Whatever you prefer. The latency is definitely, it's lower on Twitch. Alright, so I have to change this. I have to do the same change that I did everywhere else, and I feel like that's going to cause some problems that we're going to need to resolve. But, and I don't quite see how to fix this part. These vertical lines are overwriting the overlay here. How do I fix that? I'm gonna try to fiddle with the, like, this is also not good. Oh, this line, we're deferring to the line in front of, oh, shoot. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can kill a few birds with one stone here and mess with the Z indexing. If I can't fix this with Z indexing, the actual fix is gonna be a lot more work. Did I play Cave Rim 1? I'm pretty sure I played Cave Rim, or at least I watched a number of people play Cave Rim. Yeah, I definitely watched it a lot. I also witnessed a lot of its development, I feel, too. It's very cool. I dig Cave Rim. Cave Rim is fun. I think it's pretty wild that you're going back to it. But there's always more. There's always more cave to explore. You got to go further into the cave. Watching is the same as playing that one. Yeah, that was my feeling. That was my feeling. All right, let's see if we can kind of just paper this over. Let's see if we can paper this over with just a Y indexing superiority thing. So what if I just upped this whole layer's Y indexing? Or Z indexing, sorry. Z indexing, Y sorting. We're always leaving X out of this stuff. No, I don't want to test in this. The thing about Cave Rim 2 is it's not really in a cave at all. Okay, that is awkward. It's a little awkward. What's the opposite of a cave? Maybe you should have called it something like Skyrim or something like that. So is this still... Maybe I can actually solve this seriously by just having changed that one thing. Yeah, calling it Skyrim would be pretty good. What? How does this not fix that? What the heck? How does this not fix this issue? What? Come on now. Alright, that's frustrating. Okay, it fixes some issues, but not the most egregious one. I'm worried about pushing this farther. I feel like if I push this farther, it's going to have a really severe issue. Yeah, we're already seeing it. That it's already right there. That's not good. That's bad. Actually, I don't understand why that happens. That shouldn't happen. All right. We're going to try to make this worse before we make it better. I don't think this is the correct avenue. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing the Skyrim name is available. Oh yeah, that's really bad. All right, does it even fix the thing? Okay, it does fix that one issue I was talking about. Oh, is that a corner thing? Why have I not noticed that before? It might have to do with our corners. Although that doesn't make a lot of sense. Our corner cutting, we cut so many corners here. It doesn't really make sense that there are any corners left. Which is what would have to be the case to explain this issue I'm saying. But I feel like most of the time on here, I'm noticing issues that nobody else can see. That I shouldn't really be worried about. But I will be so annoyed if I have to come back and fix these things later. So we're kind of trying to just put as much due diligence in as possible right now. Okay, so here's a concerning thing. You can see that these black lines overlapping these white lines here. That's a problem. That's a failing of my attempt to... We tried changing the way this line stuff worked by deferring to the tile in front, which mostly works, except in one very important consideration, which is that the walls still kind of they still kind of overwrite the floors. And I'm really hesitant to do the thing that will fix this, which is to mess with the corner logic. You know, it's not a big enough deal for me to really care about right now. I don't think, because these selection outline things aren't actually going to stick around ever, except when you're in editor mode. So, oh, there's another corner pieces thing. Eep. All right, the corners definitely overwrite whatever's in front, which is not good. And that's because these outlines are being drawn by the floors, not by the walls. That is also not good. Dang, I thought that was a good solution. Because the alternative to giving priority to like the floor tile in front rather than the wall tile behind, even though the wall tile behind still has like a higher Z index than the floor tile in front. The big problem with that is that it means that a wall that is not related, like to render this selection, doing it the other way would require that the wall behind it is aware of the selection, which means that each block would need to, or at least each tile. So like this tile would need to look at the floor in front of it and down. And it might need to just do the one, just this floor outline. That's kind of a big refactor. Just to achieve one thing. All right, let's try to achieve this other thing, which is this floor piece is not deferring to the tile behind it, which is what it should be doing. It should be deferring to the tile behind it. But if you notice, if I select this, we're missing an outline here, and it's because this tile in front is not deferring, is not being deferential as it should be. So we're gonna figure that out. You totally didn't just zone out for like 10 minutes. That is fine. That is the way. So this line should help us. It is not. It is not currently helping us. And so my thinking is that it's still being overwritten by some other conditional somewhere. Forgot ads existed on Twitch. Yeah, sorry. That's another good reason. It's another good reason to be on YouTube right now. I don't run ads on YouTube. There will be. One day there will be ads on YouTube. Apologies. If not already. Because as soon as YouTube gives me the option to monetize these VODs, I'm gonna do it. Hey, Arnio. Happy Saturday. It's okay. You have ad block. That's between you and your various terms of service that you clicked to agree. All right. So here's the problem. How do we get this back outline to disappear? You use YouTube Premium. So you never experience ads on YouTube? Oh yeah, I also have YouTube Premium. I cannot stand it otherwise. I've had YouTube Premium since it was called YouTube Red. which I like it. I use YouTube for everything. I use it. I listen to the YouTube Music app. That's where all my I listen to my music and my podcasts. Rip the podcast app. I'm watching YouTube videos all day. So yeah, I get it. I get the value of YouTube Premium. My partner doesn't have YouTube Premium, and anytime she's like trying to show me a YouTube video, I'm like, let's just watch it on mine. This is driving me insane. You have trouble. Welcome in. How's it going? Welcome to the chat. Good question. Let's dig into this question here. Let's maybe change the music. It's a little too hype. I think it was a fun experiment. YouTube Music's the only reason you have premium. Damn right, it's between you and your browser, Arnio. All right. So you have trouble says, hi. I have no context apart from what you see now. Any reason why you decided to go with your own tile system instead of using Godot's? That is a great question. Let's dig into that. Welcome to the YouTube channel. So we're making this kind of 2D isometric style game. And so depending on how you think about it, we actually are using Godot's tile system. So this editor blocks scene consists of this hull levels scene. This hull levels scene consists of, right now, 8 levels. So these are like the vertical levels of the ship. And then if you go into hull level 0, you'll see how this hull level, it's an instance of the hull level scene. Each of these is a layer, an actual tile map layer. So this is like deck layer X, deck layer Y, deck layer Z, bulk layer X, bulk layer Y, bulk layer Z, and there's a door layer as well. So we are actually rendering with a tile map layer per face direction per level. So we are creating all of this data over on our simulation layer, which is separate. It's in C#. It's in a separate little domain, all of our data, all of our simulation data. We are pushing this data back to Godot, and Godot is actually handling the rendering for us. And that lets us do all of our neat auto tiling stuff. So the thing that I wanted was an auto tiler, and that's the thing that Godot has, but it's not the solution. The out-of-the-box solution is not great for isometric or dimetric or whatever, especially not 3D isometric or dimetric. So for me, I wanted to have, I wanted this auto tiler that would handle everything from like, especially the outlining. The outlining is really what I wanted. So it knows what material to use based on the composition. So it knows to put the darker gray for these sealed components, like the in between the walls and the floors and stuff. It knows to do the light gray for like compartments, which are like sealed compartments. So if like I bust a hole in the wall here, it's easier to see here. So if I bust a hole in the wall here, all of a sudden this layer is not treated as being inside. This layer is. Oh, interesting that oh yeah, I get what happened there. Because it's diagonal. So if I plug this back up, flood fill, which runs surprisingly quickly. So yeah, I want to do this kind of weird auto tile thing. And I also wanted this cutaway system, this very granular cutaway system. And so just the combination of the things that I wanted, I am using the Godot tiling system, but I've definitely customized it to a large extent for my purpose, which is this weird rendering system that honestly is where all of our time has gone. Arnio, you suppose Godot's out-of-the-box tiler is made for top-down stuff? Top-down, side-on. It's better. It's a lot better at square stuff, like proper 2D. At least when I was, you know, really digging heavily into this system, which is kind of when Godot 4.3 came out, which is when we got introduced to the tile map layer. Because I actually had a hard time back when it was tile map. The tile map layer has been the secret to all of this. Because tile map layer is split up and takes advantage of the scene tree for all of its Z indexing and stuff. It's a lot easier to layer a lot of things that way. That's neat. Thanks, you have trouble. I have trouble too. There are also isometric and hexagon grids. Yeah, there are. The tile map layer can support those. They work fine. I think it has to do with the if I was just doing a regular, like, mostly flat, I could probably get away with what they have, but it's the verticality. Incorporating the verticality needed something. It needed a little extra. Need a little extra. All right, so we're still fiddling with the auto tiler right now. I'm trying to get rid of this one negative X edge. And I'm not succeeding. So why would it insist on drawing the auto tile? I'm convinced it's this. It's definitely this line. But the problem is moving this down didn't seem to help, and in fact, it seemed to hurt. In fact, it seemed to hurt. Seemed to make it worse. Because it doesn't matter if the material is the same or not. I don't understand why moving this actually made it actively worse. What if I put it twice? This is kind of crazy, but what if I did this? What does this do? Oh, that kind of worked. Huh. Emphasis on kinda. I'm not quite sure what's happening here. It looks like it might be... Okay, I think there's multiple things happening there, which I kind of understand. So I broke this again, as I often seem to. Oh yeah, but this is supposed to defer. Yeah, we might need to rethink how we cast outlines. We actually might need tiles that aren't really involved to kind of just participate a little bit. It would be a lot easier if they participated a little bit. Okay, so let's do this. Let's nest this a little more here. I don't think this matters, actually. Oh, I'm thinking about this along the wrong lines. I understand. I don't understand why this is happening. It's just the average game dev experience. It truly is. You have trouble. The amount of C# is making you kind of sick. You started out coding with Java, so you're allergic to C# conventions like the uppercase method names. Oh, yeah, that's fair. I like GDScript. I like GDScript conventions. Honestly, I would kind of prefer if the C# convention was to make everything snake case. I really like the GDScript conventions. We do quite a bit of GDScript, usually a lot more for like a jam game than this game, but there is still rendering and UI code in here written in GDScript. There'll probably be a lot more before the end. But I try to stick to the language convention, so when I'm in C#, I try to do things the C# way, kinda. I don't know if anyone's doing the prepended underscore thing anymore for member variables, but I am for some reason. I'm like very much a poser. You prefer to see GDScript to C#, definitely. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot for small games. Like whenever I'm doing a game jam, I really like GDScript. It's very easy. But I'm doing something kind of weird with this game. This game is backed by like an entity component system and a bunch of bullshit that I wrote. So it's a very different environment. You actually wrote ground up packet and entity tracking system in GDScript alone recently? Oh, that's sick. Okay. Yeah, if I would have been a real programmer, I would have written the underlying, the back-end system stuff. I would have written it as like a GD extension, and all the gameplay systems would be calling it from GDScript. But for me, just with my history and everything, it made a lot more sense to just do it in C#. You know you're supposed to write it like underscore private variables, but you always forget, so you just don't. I don't know if you're supposed to do that anymore. Like, especially now that we've got things like syntax highlighting everywhere, like it made more sense to me because if I didn't have a way of distinguishing between local variables and member variables, the underscore helps. But nowadays, at least, you know, in JetBrains, my local variables are white and member variables are blue, so it's like I'm never gonna accidentally like alias a local variable or something. Oh my god, Heart Pandas subscribing at tier 1 for 12 months. Currently on a 12-month streak. You haven't finished the game yet? We haven't even finished the editor yet. But thanks, I appreciate it. I thought for sure your subscription message was gonna say Happy Friday. But instead, Happy Saturday. As it should have. Happy on Friday. Yeah, very merry on Friday to you. Godot 4.4 has abstract keyword finally. Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? I have some of those. I have some abstract classes in here. Mostly because we're doing some pretty disgusting things with memory to get the entity component system stuff to work, to get component storage to work generically. We don't have like source generators and all the good stuff that someone should probably be using for this sort of thing. All right, so I have a problem. I have a problem in that the order in which I'm drawing, especially outlines, is causing a lot of problems. They're very subtle problems, but they are very noticeable to me. Pandas, have you seen this game on Steam called The Farmer Was Replaced? It's like a simple coding AFK farming game. No, that sounds cool. Let me see. Farmer Was Replaced. Let's take a look at this. Is that a little drone with a farmer hat? Okay, okay. What does Meta Root Game Celebration mean? Program and optimize a drone to automate a farm and watch it do the work for you. Collect resources to unlock better technology. Become the most efficient farmer in the world. Improve your problem solving and coding skills. 1,500 overwhelmingly positive reviews since yesterday. Since yesterday. That is already at least like, what, like 60,000 in sales or something like that. 60,000 copies in sales at almost $10 each. So this game has probably grossed, what, $500,000 since yesterday? That's crazy. That's crazy. This looks awesome. Oh, I like how you can. I like the way it was showing how the control flow is going. I like this. I like the highlighting the control flow. This is super cool. Man, it just goes to show you. Oh, that's fun. Oh, look at that big ass pumpkin. Yeah, look at these incremental numbers going up. This is crazy. You want to play that now? It's on sale. It's 20% off. It's $8 USD. Oh, look at that. This is super cool. The one with the drone. You've seen that one? You'd spend way too much time on it. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that. Sick. Very sick. Oh, wait. 1.0 available now. Wait, has this been in early access? Timon Herzog. I've never heard of this developer, but they seem awesome. I love how it's impossible to tell if it was early access now that it's not. Oh, so it's like Python style. You can edit your code in VS Code. That's fun. This is cool. This is cool. Thanks for telling me about this. I might have to check this out. Okay, after over 3.5 years of steady development, over 20 updates, and your amazing feedback, they've announced that it's 1.0. Okay, yeah, it looks like this was an early access. Okay, that makes a little more sense. I thought this game just absolutely blew up. I mean, it looks like it probably has to an extent, but... Oh, someone else is doing a game like this, but it's like a traffic lights game. That's fun. This is a fun little kind of genre that's popping up. Little coding automation games. What's MetaRoot? They're having their own, like, celebration. This looks pretty. God, there's so many games. It's kind of stressful. You hate how Python has true false in Pascal case? Arneo, you think a lot of people want to farm without actually farming? A lot of games could sell on that premise. For sure, for sure. I mean, I think in real life, a lot of people want to, you know, no one actually wants to do farming work anymore. Cookin' BK, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that. I hope you're having a fine Saturday. We're ostensibly doing some work on the auto tiler. I'm a little dissuaded by what I feel like is a fundamental problem with the way I'm layering some of this outlining stuff. And I'm thinking about a way to fix it. But any which way that I fix this is going to be... We're not even supposed to be working on this. We're supposed to be working on the block validation system. That's what I said we were going to be working on today. I'm not even supposed to be here today, man. You have a question? Yeah, rip. Hit me. So what I did before was we kind of changed everything so that like the wall is up here. The wall doesn't like generally do the outlining for like the bottom. So the wall doesn't really have an opinion on the outlining on the bottom. The outlining on the bottom is controlled by the tile in front, and that's because if it wasn't, this black line would go across and this selection overlay would not replace this. The alternative to the way I solved this would be to have this wall cast the lower part of the selection overlay. But that's kind of a slippery slope because that means I've selected this tile, but the tile behind it is the one that's drawing the overlay forward. And that's a slippery slope here, but it solves problems like this wall line that just like tears through our overlay. And this is a general overlay problem. Like this isn't going to be fixed. Like this is going to affect every overlay that we make. And this seems like a general problem. So I think I actually maybe need to rewrite the auto tiler to account for this. That is a big yikes for me, dog. That's going to increase the complexity of the auto tiler significantly. Because it means we can't just skip a tile because a tile itself has no interest in what's happening. The tile will have to look at its neighbors to decide if it should be involved. Yeah, like this is a problem. Why isn't that not working? Yikes. Bulk. Z. Cookin', do you think it's bad using AI for game dev because you're iffy about it, even though you see a lot of people use AI for projects now and they just tell you AI is a tool? It's best to use it, understand and make stuff faster. It's a personal choice because unfortunately it's not just about whether it's useful or not. It's complex. It's not just a tool is the problem. It's a replacement for the expertise. And that's a problem. A lot of people talk about this that are talking about AI. They frame it in a very misleading way. They're like, it's no different than a calculator. Like a calculator is just a tool. And like, you know, back when calculators came out, academics were worried, you know, that mathematicians were going to go away because the calculator made mathematicians irrelevant. And it's like, that's not what's happening here. AI is not a calculator. AI is a math department. I mean, math is a terrible example because the AI is wildly incompetent at doing math. If you ask AI what 2 plus 2 is, it'll be like, most people consider 2 plus 2 to equal 4. However, an important additional, you know, an important consideration is that some believe 2 plus 2 should actually be 3.999999. It's like, I don't know. There's a lot going on there. I think it comes down to, we can do a lot of judgment about the sociological, ecological, and other impacts of using AI, but At the end of the day, it's like a whatever lets you sleep at night kind of decision. And so for me, I don't use it. I'm kind of forced to use it when I Google search because Google just, that's just how Google search is now. Google search is like Gemini search. There's no real distinction. Comparing AI to a calculator is like comparing an automated car assembly line to a wrench. Yeah, but that's the problem, especially among older people that, you know, don't want to be. The thing about getting older means that you always try to contextualize whatever new thing that comes along. You try to contextualize in your prior experience, which leads to the whole thing where people say like history is a very dangerous teacher because it causes you to misidentify new phenomenon as pre-existing things. And like, so that's one thing. And I think people are misunderstanding maybe the kind of fundamentally hostile and like transhumanist stuff behind AI. I don't want to get into all that. Obviously, it has its uses. Here's my real response to Cook and BK's. Do you think you should use AI for game dev? I think in the vast majority of times, if you're talking about it in terms of like programming, like vibe coding, which I think a lot of people are talking about it in, game systems are so complicated and the requirements are changing so often that how do you reason about and maintain a code base that you didn't write and that you do not understand? Like, how do you tighten up the graphics on level 3 when you didn't even build level 3? Like, so I'm finding that a lot of people are spending at least as much time, you know, validating the work of coding agents as they would have probably just doing it themselves. And if they did it themselves, they would know how it worked. And they'd be able to make changes easily and understand. So much about programming is about how much of the relevant state you can keep in your head simultaneously. And as soon as you start vibe coding away that responsibility, I think it becomes really hard to maintain a project, a complicated project. Y'all are talking about DuckDuckGo for some reason. All right. So what do I do here? Do I fundamentally change our approach to auto tiling and go off on like a crazy tangent? I say fundamentally. All we're doing is changing who's responsible for outlining, but it does change some early outs. Like we can't do this early out. Where would we even do the early out? It's like way up here. Yeah, where we're like, is there even a tile here? If there isn't a tile here, don't even... like this. Well, I guess that continue is still valid because that means we literally wouldn't draw anything. Can we do this otherwise? I think we can. Okay. Hey, Smooth in a second. You're going ducking crazy. That's funny. Yeah, I think we need to change how this works. That's frustrating. So what we essentially need to do is we need to... I tried to get around this. The way I tried to get around this problem is I tried to make it so that the lowest z-indexed tile would be the one that would have the responsibility to do the outlining. And so that's like, that way, so you have a bunch of z-indexing priority, like who is in front of who. So if I draw something, what's drawn in front of or behind the other? And the way I tried to approach it is I had the person at the bottom of that chain, the tile at the bottom of that chain was the tile that would be responsible for outlining. And that way, and that was smart in that you wouldn't get overwritten by a tile in front of you. The tile in front of you deferred to you. And that's how we solve things like outlining on the corners here, where the floor meets the wall. Because if we don't do that, the wall overwrites the floor, and then this white outline here against the wall doesn't get drawn. Because the floor here is what's being outlined. So it was a kind of a smart approach, but it fails at exactly this point, where it fails at this point where the wall is trying to overwrite something that's happening on the floor. And the only real solution is to either make it so complicated that this understands corners enough that it should get rid of this bottom pixel here. But that means not treating this as a corner piece anymore, which is incorrect. And it's actually confusing in a lot of ways because it's saying get rid of the outline here, treat this as something that's just passing through. I think I want to flip it. I think I want to flip it and go back on what I did before. And I think I do want the topmost tile to overwrite the tiles below it. But the complexity there means that that topmost tile needs to be way more aware of its surroundings, instead of just kind of playing dumb and letting tiles beneath it like push up through. Can you have an if corner? We're already doing that. We're already doing logic based on the corner. The problem is there is a corner there. So I could hack it and tell it, no, ignore that. But then once we start to actually have drawn corner pieces, how do we do that? So unfortunate. I think I need to change this, which I think is okay, and I think we can live with it. Cookin' BK, you hate vibe coders. You started programming when you were 14. You're now 21. You want to make games? It's been so long. You learned Java first, then Python, then C#, but then started college. Now you're just iffy about using it with anything unless it's something advanced. You used to make Discord bots and just desktop apps, but you just wanted to know your opinion on it since people say you'll be left behind just trying to fix something that takes a week. I don't know. Game development is definitely all about execution. You know, ideas are cheap. It's the effort that makes the difference. So obviously iteration time is king in game dev. I don't see how vibe coding improves iteration time in the long term. You should probably watch The Tower, which is like Primogen's 2 Game Jam series they did where they vibe code like a whole tower defense game and see how that works for them. I don't know. I'm not convinced. And I'm not convinced of it from a practical standpoint. That's setting aside all the gross ecological, sociological, and moral implications of using AI for anything. Like, those reasons alone, I feel like, are good enough reason to not touch AI. But you're right, especially if you're, you know, at a more entry-level point. It's like, how do you not get left behind? And that's hard, and that's scary. And you can feel like you're boxed in, where you're like, if I don't use this, I will be left behind. I don't totally know how to... I don't totally have a refutation of that, except that I'm hoping handmade content from people. I think there is enough of a backlash against AI slop, and I think people are clever enough that they can tell that I'm hoping that in the future it'll be kind of like organic or whatever. Like, there will be a value to a handmade thing. That it's like, yeah, you could have made it cheaper. You could have slopped it out there, but especially with so many games out and so much choice that people have. I don't know if people are going to choose the sloppy thing. Like, I think when you're making TikToks, it's one thing, but when you're talking about a game, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to accept the slop when they have so much choice already. I don't know. It's not the same thing of like, it's not the same kind of environment where people can force that kind of stuff on us. Your internet died, you're back. Welcome back. Between in a second. It'll make being pro in a field more important. It'll make being mid and less harder. Weird balance. Yeah, I think it's kind of like everything else. It's kind of raising the floor as far as what a layperson can do in these technical fields. Because now you can just vibe code your way to something, but I don't think it actually improves the experience for when you're at the high level. I don't know, maybe it does. I don't know anyone who engages with it enough who can tell me straight up. They're like, "Oh yeah, I definitely saved time because I only spent 1 week fixing this vibe coded feature instead of spending 2 weeks programming it myself." Like, I don't have enough anecdotal evidence to support something like that. And again, that's totally beside the vast ecological, sociological, and moral implications of using this technology, which is vast and not good. So I don't know. I'm a skeptic. But yeah, I think if you're young and you're trying to break into a profession and everyone's telling you you're going to be left behind if you don't adopt this stuff, I think there's a strong argument to be like, you have to at least be fluent in this stuff, or people will literally just won't hire you, because there's definitely a truth in that the money is only going towards this stuff. There's a bubble and all the investment capital is only going towards people who are willing to say, oh yeah, we're doing this with AI. Arneo, you feel like AI slop in coding is a bit different than AI slop in art. Coding is more functional than art, and coding's intentionality comes from its function. While art's intention is what the person wants to communicate visually, AI doesn't want to communicate anything. Yeah, I don't know how to untangle that. So for you, if you can make good functioning code with AI, there's less of a problem than making art with prompts. I disagree. I actually think the problem is reverse. I think the thing is, if you prompt your way to a piece of art, that piece of art just is. It's just this thing. It's this flat image, and it's just a thing that exists now, and you have it, and it has characteristics. Maybe it's sloppy. But the fact that it's sloppy has to do with its visual thing, and it's just an image, right? But if you vibe code something, it's not just a flat thing you get. It's like an iceberg. There's the stuff people see at the tippy top, but there's all this infrastructure down below. And all of the evidence I have about vibe coding is that AI is terrible about handling that infrastructure, especially in a large, complex project. And most of coding is about managing that infrastructure. It's not really about the behavior that you get at the end, especially on a big project. It's about managing complexity. And I don't think AI manages complexity well in code. I don't have a ton of experience. This is just me hearing from other people. So could be talking out my ass, but I think that's a fundamental problem with stuff that's vibe coded. Because that's the thing everyone says is, oh, I got something that kind of worked in like 5 minutes. And then I spent ages trying to like adjust it or fix it or expand it or maintain it. Because very little thought was put into that, to the maintainability. Because that's always the challenge for me on a big project. It's not writing the first version of it. It's maintaining it and expanding it and making it work as it increases in complexity. And I don't know. I don't feel like vibe coding helps with that. I feel like vibe coding makes that actively worse, but I might be wrong. Or that might be a time-bound problem where over time the systems are just going to get better and that becomes less of a problem, but I don't know. I'm not really trying to persuade anyone either way. I have my answer, which is personal, which is what lets me sleep at night, which is that I just don't use this stuff. Because I'm actively trying not to make the world a worse place as best I can. SC Zashi, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Definitely if it's bad at doing that. Arneo, your point is mostly that if it does work and you can make good complex code with AI, it doesn't bother you as much. For art, you'd rather have a bad image made by a human than a good one made by AI. Yeah, that probably has to do with the viscerality of images. Like, I think our brain is a lot more wired in to be able to understand. Like, if you see a person that isn't done right, that's like the uncanny valley, right? Like, the uncanny valley of art is a lot more in your face and a lot more, you're more likely to have like an intense reaction to the uncanny valley when it's presented to you visually than I think you are if it's even presented to you like in a different context. Like, what's the uncanny valley look like for code, right? I don't know. Maybe there isn't one, which is maybe why it's more palatable. But to me it doesn't. Like, I mean, here's full disclosure. I use JetBrains Writer's autocomplete, right? That's AI powered. So if I just start typing, come on, autocomplete. I'm like writing the same line as above, and autocomplete's like, I don't know what you're trying to do. Yeah, here we go. So like, the autocomplete is like, I think I know what you want. That to me is different than like a vibe coding agent. So I don't know. Probably looks like Roblox. Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe I'm not well. I don't know why every stream devolves into AI discussion, but I think that's because that's what everyone's thinking about. All right, so I have decided to flip the priority that tiles have in terms of drawing. That is tough. I need to think this through, unfortunately. If I evaluates to 1, print odd. If else I evaluates to print 2. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Sashi. Welcome in. He's using AI. Get him. Yeah. You mean AI is just faster Googling, in your opinion, since OpenAI just searched the web? Yeah, I don't know. I don't love that I'm forced to use it when I Google search. But it does help sometimes. Like if I see a line in the Gemini summary and there's a link to where they got that line from, that's probably like, I don't care what the line says, but I click the link because I'm like, this is probably the article that's relevant to what I'm asking about. So I don't know. I feel like you can feel... I think you can feel the outright hostility towards humanity that exists in AI output. I feel like you can feel the spitefulness of it. Just the anti-humanities. The hostility that's inherent in this technology. I can. But maybe that's just me. I can and I don't like it. All right, so we're gonna change the way this works. Does this mean we have to change the tile map atlas a little bit? I think the answer is kind of. So we have this atlas here. Do we have a background? We do. Well, that doesn't make it easier to see. There we go. So I was trimming the bottoms of these. I don't think I want to do that anymore if we're going to have the topmost tile be the determining factor. and drawing over the bottom tile. The reason why this is so complicated is because vertically there is tile overlap. So there's a 1 pixel tile overlap between the wall and the floor beneath it, or a wall and a wall above it, which is part of the reason why we use an outline. But if we change the way this works, I'm probably going to need to draw back in. So you can see like a dot here and then nothing next to it. That's because we erased the lowest line so that the tile beneath this tile can show through. But what's getting us in trouble are these little corner pieces that we can't get rid of. So yeah, I think this is the right move. I'm just kind of annoyed at what's going to be involved in fixing this. But I can kind of do a lot of this. I can probably do the fundamental flip of this on my own here. Can we do it now? What's in our way? What's in the way for us doing this now? A lot of these conditions are going to change. And the art needs to change. All right, last chance to not do this. So I'm about to start changing stuff. But I don't think I can get around this. And I think in the long run, this is better. If whatever tile is on top is the tile that handles everything. So any tile beneath it that's being overlapped, it essentially is forced to defer to the tile above it. And that's great and solves some overlapping issues we're having, like here and like a couple other places too. But the problem is it means that the tile on top really needs to do a lot of due diligence. It needs to do a ton of due diligence. Yeah, look at this. Look at these missing outlines when we're doing stuff like this. Fascinating. I might have actively made this worse today by some of the changes I made. But yeah, I think in the long run, this is the correct move. It solves a lot of z-indexing issues. So how are we going to fix this? Cookin', you like my response to the question? I actually made sense for a person who doesn't use it. It has good and bad to it, yeah. Yeah, it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. There's a show called The Good Place. And early on in The Good Place, they try to explain why less people are getting into heaven today. It's this show that's supposed to take place in heaven. So they're answering questions from people. And they explain why less people are getting into heaven than they used to. And they're just like, they talk about the ecological and they talk about the surrounding impact that every person has just by existing. Just like by existing, I consume goods, which has ecological fallout. Like I buy groceries covered in plastic. I run my heater powered by natural gas. I do all of these different things. And they're like, the problem is back in like, oldie times, the ecological impact of an individual just existing is low because you're just a person. Maybe you chop up some firewood and like, you eat local produce and stuff and you have an impact. It's way different than nowadays where it's like where I'm like ordering boxes from Amazon and I'm doing all of this stuff. And like I have this huge impact on the environment just by existing. So it just increases the average evil of every person, just that increased thing. And I feel like AI is that to the nth degree. It's like, so what? You're going to like, we needed to train an AI and we have to power this entire data center, which consumes like a lake just to run. And we do that just so you can ask it for a recipe for, like, I don't know, what you're going to make for dinner. Or even worse, you ask it what you should eat for dinner, because that's the kind of questions people are asking these AIs. And it's like, what's the ambient level of evil involved in doing that? Involved in sending a request to a server at a data center for this AI to answer some banal question you have. And it consumes like a lake of water to do it, a whole lake, as well as the power output of a small Midwestern town or something like that. Like, I don't know. I'm more and more, every year I'm getting more sensitive to that sort of thing. I think I ignored it a lot for a long time, but I think as I get older, I'm having a hard time ignoring it. I think I see the amount of plastic waste that like I have from like after a trip to the grocery store, and I'm like, do I need to start going to the hippie co-op and like bringing mason jars just so that I can sleep at night? I don't know. Because that's ultimately, I go back to my initial response, which is it's like, whatever lets you sleep at night, man. That's what you do. We can pontificate and we can moralize and we can try to take the high ground or the low ground. But it's like, we're each living our one life and we each have to justify that to ourselves. And sometimes to others. We have to be able to justify it to others. But really, we're just justifying it to ourselves. So, it's a long-winded way of saying whatever lets you sleep at night. That's what you should do. And if it's bothering you, even if it's the harder path, maybe you should try to walk it. All right, rant over. I actually have to start rewriting all this stuff now. So the way this is going to work with an overwrite, so each tile is overwriting all the tiles underneath it. So there's no more of this cast through thing. So I think the first thing I should do is to change the art. So what I should do is I should just cast this over here. I don't know if this background color is doing me any favors. Why does hiding that not do anything? Oh god. What layer did I put this color on? I painted over a layer. I think. I'm pretty sure. Yep, there it is. Okay, easy. Easy. Wide door triple inner. Oh god, yeah, I really butchered this. Let's see if we can fix it. Yep, there we go. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go through the texture thing here, and I'm just gonna fix this. We're heading more towards the direction of maybe it makes sense to be drawing the outlines separately from the underlying texture. We're heading into that direction. All right, so we're getting rid of this missing line here. It's gonna look like I'm doing nothing, but I swear I'm doing something. Hey, Sapphire Starship. Welcome in. Cookin' BK. No one can know everything with programming or cybersecurity, so Google will be your best option. Yeah, you gotta, you gotta try to get as much information from outside of yourself as possible, for sure. Sapphire Starship just joined, first time in the stream. Welcome in. FTL-like in Godot sounds really interesting. What particularly are we working on at the moment? Particularly, we're working on a auto tiler and editor tool. So we're trying to make this kind of isometric style FTL-like, which has a lot of verticality to it. Like I want to have like the bridge is at the top deck, and then there's like some other layer. Maybe there's like a crew quarters or like a reactor room or like a cargo hold. So I'm trying to take the top-down 2D aspect of FTL-like and make it of an FTL-like game and make it more of a isometric, layered experience. So we have a whole tech stack that lets us do that, and we're working on that. We're working on kind of refactoring the autotiler right now. So we can build, this is just gonna look like a pile of rooms, but we have a bunch of stuff involved in that, like a cutaway system, an autotiler, a flood fill system that lets us tell where the compartments are, the sealed compartments. So we have a bunch of stuff going on there. And right now, specifically, I'm thinking of reworking the way the autotiler does some stuff. Specifically around deference. Underlying tiles used to get deference from the tiles above them. And that is causing some problems with the way certain layers interact with each other. So we're considering flipping that on its head here. And I think that's gonna work. I think it's gonna make everything a little more complicated, but I think it's gonna work. I think there's plenty of the tile system is super responsive, so I don't actually feel like it's a problem to increase the complexity of it. We're also in ads, so sorry if I tried to answer your question and you just got kicked into ads. That looks awesome. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging out here on a Saturday. Arneo, you try not to feel guilty about your environmental impact. If God didn't want you to heat your apartment, you should have balanced the heating of the planet better. That sounds suspiciously like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. I'm finding I increasingly am unable to ignore my own impact. I'm as much of a cynic as the next guy, probably more than most, actually. In like the traditional sense of cynic. But yeah, I'm having a hard time. I'm having a harder time every year holding on to that. Documents exist, always can use docs. Never write documentation. I don't know. I don't totally know what your point was, so I'm gonna throw out an equally confused point. We don't write documentation here. We're self-documenting. That's our word. That's what we call it. All right, so let's fix this. I say fix. Let's change this tile set atlas to no longer have a hollow bottom section. This should be easy. I feel like I've done this before. I have this sneaking suspicion that I've done this before. Man, I thought the deference from below thing was pretty clever, but I see now some of the fundamental problems with it. Or things above deferring to the things below. That seemed clever. But now I see it makes more sense for maybe tiles to be a little more aware of what's going on nearby. I think it was helpful to try to reduce the complexity of that, but clearly that's going to not work in the long run for what we're trying to do. And that's okay. And this is another case of, I think it's better to do this kind of stuff yourself because I know how all of this stuff works. Changing everything is really easy. I can do it myself. I understand most of the implications of doing it. Obviously, it's important to understand the work that you're doing, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gonna throw. There's nothing like a good George Carlin quote. Never have so many people depended on something understood by so few. He said that like 30, 40 years ago. Jesus. He was just talking about technology in general, I think. But now it's scary true, because like nobody even understands how LLMs work the way that they work. Like fundamentally is maybe the wrong word. But they've become so complicated that you can't actually explain their inner workings really convincingly, as far as I understand. And that sort of thing should make anyone scared. So these ones, do we do the same thing for these ones? I think we do. I think that is in line with what we're trying to do elsewhere. Man, yeah, this is a pretty big change. I think it's going to be for the best, though. I think I'm going to do the floors last here. Let's change the Y. The Y faces real quick here. What am I doing? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. I'm going to change this for the doors, too. Do the doors have the same nonsense? No, they don't. Well, sort of they do, huh? Okay. That's... Oh, that is a problem. That is a problem. I'm gonna need to punt on that. The way the door proxies work. That's not totally going to be consistent with the way that we're doing everything else, which is fine. The doors kind of work their own way for all of these cases. Doors are weird. Doors are always like one of the more strange and difficult aspects of game development, getting doors to work right. And that's because thresholds, there's some kind of magic to a threshold that I don't think is like fully understood. There's something strange about a door. Like as a concept. It's a lot of tiles. Yeah, this is how we achieve our auto tiler. So we're auto tiling per face. So a cube has 6 faces, but because this is isometric, you can only see 3 of them at a time. So we do all of our rendering per face. And so this tile map atlas, so each colored chunk of this is everything you need to render a quote-unquote block. And a block consists of 2 parts. There's like an upper part, which is like the wall or whatever bulk, like a door or I don't know, whatever. That's like the upper part. And then there's a bottom part, which is a floor piece, which we call the deck. So a block might have only a deck. And the deck has like thickness to it, right? Like it's an actual floor piece. It's not just a bottom plane. So we have a lot of flexibility in what we can draw. I always end up doing something like this, and it is so tedious, especially tedious to watch. So sorry about that. Thank you all for hanging in here with me. Yeah, Sapphire Starship. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Hope you're having a great weekend. If there's anything you're working on, I would be interested to hear about it. Or anyone else. Anything they're working on or stuck on or proud of, or just kind of stuff they're thinking about in terms of their own projects. I'm always interested to hear it. We also have a Discord. If you either want to follow along, get stream notifications, or share the stuff you're working on. It's a little community full of game devs and enthusiasts. No pressure, just in case anyone's interested. I know it's really easy to get to, hit your limit in terms of Discord communities. But yeah, we also stream 5 days a week, usually Tuesday through Saturday. So we do this all the time. If you've been having a good time, if you've been liking hanging out with us, yeah, like, subscribe, whatever. We try to create a nice little co-working community vibe. We're human-centric here. We care about human creativity. What's left of it. All right, that's almost all of it. Not counting the doors, which the doors should be easy because they're just outlines. So I should actually just try to restore those outlines. Yeah, that's easy. We'll do that next, after we fix the floors here. Sapphire, you're not quite working on anything yet. I love your name, though, the Sapphire Starship. It's very evocative. You're not working on anything yet. You're more developing the idea of something. Okay, okay. Thinking of working on a procedurally generated roguelike that involves traveling between planets and solar systems. Ooh, that's cool, that's cool. We've definitely got a lot of people that are interested in that kind of thing. That's a really interesting area to work. And yeah, that's definitely a hard thing to set up, that level of procedural generation. Arnio, you spam the Discord too much, you feel like? You're starting to enjoy making those those little 10-second GIFs more than working on the game. It's important to get excited about sharing your project. That's the thing. I mean, everyone kind of knows this, but it's like, if you're not excited to work on your project or share it, it's really hard to do it. It's really hard to actually make it happen, you know? So it's like, it's okay, be excited about it. I never get tired of seeing your stuff. I think the stuff you're working on is really interesting, with the missile tracking and the point defense cannons, and you're making a very interesting, very hard sci-fi. Its presentation is very hard sci-fi, but mechanically it feels very arcadey. It's really nice. It's a really nice combination. I think it's a really nice combination where you get the vibes without necessarily getting all the heavy lifting that you might see in a similarly like hardcore kind of environment. So I think it's great. What layer is this? I'm always on the wrong layer. Yep, call me Mr. Wrong Layer here. What did I do? Ugh. Wrong layer, Dave. Often wrong, Dave. Like often wrong soon. You know, it'd be a lot of work. You kind of want even the creatures to be procedurally generated as well. Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, I would love to hear how this project develops. I definitely was more into trying to do some of this more procedural stuff in the past. I was very into voxels. I was very into, I would say what I was working on more before in previous incarnations of this project was more like voxelized kind of like Cosmeteer style stuff, where it was about building your ships like module by module. And then Cosmeteer came out, and I was like, there's no way I can even approach this level of quality in 2D, let alone 3D. And that's part of the reason I kind of transitioned over to something like this, which is I consider a lot more personal. It's like pixel art. You know, it's a lot more about what's happening on the inside of the ship. That's what I'm kind of leaning into with the FTL style thing. That's kind of more, I realized I could maybe do something there realistically with my resources, even if I couldn't do something as grandiose as what Walt has done with Cosmeteer. Procedurally generated alien sounds cool. What would be your approach for that, 2D or 3D? I think that's a good question. I'm actually coming around to the idea that if I wanted to do something procedurally, I would probably be better off doing it in 3D. Coming around to that. I would probably end up doing something 3D and then like down res it into like a more low res kind of situation, or do something like that. I think that's what I would end up doing personally. Because I think it's easier to generate stuff in 3D and then kind of massage it, you know, into whatever state you're interested in. I think procedurally generating stuff in 2D is actually like really hard. I'm handcrafting everything for this game, which is kind of part of the reason I'm doing it in like pixel art 2D. And the procedurality in my game is in the combinatorics of it. So it's like all the elements are handmade, but the assembly together is more dynamic. It's kind of more what's happening with my game. But that's not, there's nothing like requiring that to be the case, you know? That's just kind of my approach. All right, I don't think I messed that up. Now let's fix this one. All right, that's most of the tile map atlas, which is great. What we need to do now is the doors, which is a little less great because there's a lot of door layers. So that's that layer. Oop, turn that off. Try to save myself some time here. Because all we're doing is re-adding this little thing. What layer am I even on right now? I don't even know. God. Yeah, what an idiot I am. All right. Sapphire, you'll mostly like to be doing 2D. You don't do great artwork. You want to get better. You kind of want to make the focus more on exploration, resource gathering than combat. Story belongs the lines of trying to find a new home for humanity. Ooh. Your thought for the generating will be that you handcraft different creature parts and generate how they're put together. I think that's safe. I think you can do that. I'm not an artist. I have no artistic training. I've done pixel art here for this and a few other game jams. I've gotten really into it. I like it a lot more than I thought I would. It helps that I'm doing work that is very low res. The low resolution of it has definitely helped me get more comfortable with it. I feel like when I am working on too high res, I get bogged down with worrying about like anatomy and lighting and all these different things. But when I'm drawing these little guys, it feels so much easier. So yeah, I've really gotten into pixel art. I want to try stuff like Blockbench. I want to try like the equivalent of like very low poly kind of stuff. I'd be interested in that. You love how that looks? Yeah, thank you. This is very much a what I can get away with sort of thing. This is like, I kind of backed into this art style being like, what could I do? And this is kind of the answer. Pixel art is great. Twitch crashed? I don't think so, Smooth. I think you crashed. Well, thanks for having a YouTube backup. I really appreciate everyone cross-pollinating here. You could research some animal classifications. You might start with the amount of legs and maybe go like reptilian, mammal, insect, fungal for the overall shape vibe. It's already quite a few permutations. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do for aliens. I don't know if I'm going to have aliens for a long time in this game because I don't know how I would draw them. I mean, maybe we can be funny and add like the tar monster from like Star Trek or something like that. Do stuff that's like very blobby, or we could probably do robots pretty easily because those are very humanoid. I think we're gonna go very Star Trek and like almost everyone is gonna be humanoid because that's the kind of thing I don't know what to do. Like I barely know how to animate a humanoid. Like what I'm gonna have to how do I animate something with 6 legs, right? And 3 arms. Like I don't know. That's a real problem. That's a real challenge. Which is kind of why I like 3D stuff. I like when you generate stuff in 3D and then you like hide it. You do like down resing and you do other tricks to like try to unify it all around some kind of look. That's what I did with Mini Delivery, and I think I'm going to end up doing something similar again with our next game jam, which we're going to be doing in a couple of weeks. I think we're going to do something weird. What am I doing? Oh yeah, art. Right. This is really tedious. What's going on here, but definitely have ideas. It's still very early. Just starting to write stuff down. Things are definitely about to change. Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, it's one of those planning is useful, or planning is, what is it? A plan is useless, but planning is essential. It's like, until you start iterating, the plans are just that. They're just plans. And it's like they could easily be proved or disproved by the actual work once you start doing the work. So I'm not a big pre-planning kind of guy because I find that I usually almost never correctly estimate what like the actual requirements will be. And I think game dev really is about that, but obviously pre-production is important. You can't do game dev without pre-production, but I feel like pre-production is not sufficient, right? I'm not criticizing your approach. I'm just talking about in general. I don't know if there's any way to figure out game dev that doesn't mostly just involve trial and error, emphasis on error. I don't know if there's a way to get around that. You're not super active on Discord? You join mine? Thank you. Yeah, please share your project with us as it develops. If you have questions or you just want to like bounce ideas around. Honestly, on our Discord, the most active channel by far is the Share Your Work channel. 'Cause that's most of what, you know, everyone wants to do. We just want to get eyes on what we're doing. We want to get feedback. That's the thing that I've learned most about, you know, game dev is like it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like no game survives contact with a player. So like if you can get feedback from people early and often, I think that's super critical. Yeah, no worries everyone who has different names in Discord than they do on Twitch. I'm generally okay about keeping it straight. It gets tough sometimes, but I do my best. If I mix anyone up, I'm sorry. All right, this is not what I thought I was going to be working on today, and it sounds like this is going to take a bit. I do have some time Monday to work on this off stream. I will try to figure out the boundaries of like what's going to be required to flip this priority where the upper tile needs to be responsible, not just for itself, but for neighboring lower tiles. The nice thing about doing the bottom-up approach, where the upper tiles just deferred to the tiles beneath them, was that stuff could bubble up from the lower tile, where a lower tile could be like, I'm selected, and the upper tile is like, okay, let me get out of your way so that your selection will show through. The problem is that fails because blocks have cross concerns. So a tile might interfere with not just its own tile like directly beneath it, but like a tile across from it and below it. And so it was nice when we did the bottom up approach because a tile just needed to consider itself most of the time. But we really need the tiles to consider a larger area around them. And that is going to be the annoying thing that needs to be like figured out. Oh, I see. YT Displant, hello pizza rolls. Hello yourself. How's it going? Did you bring pizza rolls? Did you bring enough for the whole class? Arneo, you have 100 for suggestions for a game like Sapphires. I know. That's how I feel when you keep showing your action-oriented space game. I'm like, man, I had so many ideas for a game like this. I really wanted to do like I wanted to do a game kind of like Nebulous Fleet Command, but it's like way more like your game where it's a lot more arcadey and like real time and stuff. But I really wanted to play with like electromagnetic warfare and like having visibility be like, and active sensors be like a core part of like finding and destroying your opponents. And like, I really wanted information to be like a dominant part of the calculus. Like, I thought that would be so cool. Because so much about combat in space seems to, well, obviously it doesn't actually, it's not real, so we don't know for sure, but in fiction, it always revolves around this very complex fight over information. It's like, can you even detect your enemy? Like, there's all this interesting stuff. So yeah, I feel it when you're like, oh man, I have so many ideas for making a game kind of like your game. Because I definitely do too. Displant, you've been vibing. You've not eaten pizza rolls in years. That's just your greeting. You'll be back. All right, we'll be here. Please bring pizza rolls when you come back. All right, so we're replacing this texture. Replacing this texture is going to break everything. But we're doing it. All right, we just broke everything. The old system of priority does not work now. So let's see what that looks like. This is going to look jank. If it doesn't look jank, I've done something wrong. So there should be issues like... Well, I said there should be issues. I'm not seeing any. No change because I didn't... You have to bring up the Godot window for it to re-export stuff. Oh man, do I have to change these too? I do. Okay, that's fine. I also have to change the selection overlays. I won't do that on stream because that looks terrible to do. You can always spam ideas for you. You love talking about ideas. Oh yeah, for sure. I try to do it in response to something I'm seeing. Okay, so here's one thing. We don't see that overlay thing anymore, which is interesting. Yeah, and that's why, because it's overwriting. Okay. So there's a problem. So okay, so the brokenness has begun. Yeah, here's a problem. So now the upper tile is overwriting the lower tile. And because I didn't write the behavior to handle that, it's not going to work. Yeah, so like if I select a block now it's we'll see at most 2 edges or 1 edge outlined. So super busted, need to totally change how outlines are calculated. So now if I select this tile, 3 tiles need to be aware of this. The wall tile here, the floor tile here, and the floor tile here. Because they're the ones that are going to need to cast this selection outline. So there's a lot more involvement with your neighbors now. There's a lot more cooperation that's going to need to happen, but it will let us fix problems like this corner case where this vertical slice was like coming all the way through. It's going to be better in the long run. It's just going to kind of suck right now while we're fixing it. But that's okay. You will post literally everything you have written down right now. It's just the game pitch in the Discord. Right now, you might start trying to draw something that would be a bit of a concept art just to get a start on the artwork. The artwork is always where you get stuck on things. Do it. Do that. Try to establish some kind of visual style, even if it's rough. That's what I did with this background piece. This background painting has been like my style guide for like 2 years now. I have surprisingly little other finished art. I'm working on a ship layout that I'm drawing, like an actual ship layout that I want to try to test out. And I'm drawing it. I'm not like building it in the editor because I don't want to be limited by the editor currently. But I think you need something like this deeply. This kind of a style guide, vibe check thing, whatever it is. Because I answered a lot of questions about the design by just thinking through systematically how this like tile system would get laid out and like how big the walls were and how much space there was here and like how big are the characters per tile. Like just putting this down definitely and trying to, I think it's really helpful to come up with something that looks like kind of a finished work. I've changed a lot of stuff. A lot of the stuff that I do here, like especially with shadows within the tile, it's very different than how I'm actually doing it. But still, I think this exercise is crucial. Having some kind of visual identity or visual direction early, I think that's really helpful to get as soon as possible. Arnio, your guiding light for space combat for your game is the Expanse. Yeah, I get that. You love how it's divided between the long range and close quarters. Long range being a slow missile slugfest, and close quarters is a tense sudden death of projectiles. Yeah, watching the projectiles just like shooting through the ships is crazy. Obviously, for me, my inspiration is a lot more Star Trek, which is a lot more I would consider like abstract and slow. But the Expanse is interesting. Again, I feel like you're taking a very hard sci-fi inspiration, and you're softening it up really nicely in terms of mechanically how that's going to express itself. And I think that's really nice. I think it's counterintuitive sometimes where like mechanically what you're doing isn't always exactly the same as like vibe-wise what it is you're representing. And a lot of people call that like a kind of dissonance, but I actually think it's kind of helpful sometimes. Like, because otherwise the mechanics might like impose their vibe over what you're doing. Like if mechanically what you're talking about or what you're doing, you're having the player do is very intense, is very involved, that might overwhelm and like subsume whatever other stuff you're trying to do in terms of like generating a certain kind of vibe from the art or from the presentation or whatever. So I think it's really cool. It's kind of one of those things where it's like a lot of games will do this nowadays, where they talk about reducing the inherent complexity of like the low level mechanics to free up the player's mind for higher level stuff. So it's the thing, and then like MOBAs, there's like last hitting, right? Where like you have to be able to click on an enemy creep and kill it. That's like how you make gold, right? And then some of the games decided to take that away. Like I don't remember. I'm not a MOBA player, but I'm aware of this. So I think like Heroes of the Storm doesn't have last hitting or something like that. I don't remember which ones do and don't. But it's like the argument is like, if you reduce the moment to moment complexity, or the floor, I think it's the floor, you call it the floor. Like how hard is it to basically interact with the game? And if you make it easier to basically interact with the game, you can free up a lot of the player's mind for other things, to like think about higher level interactions and maybe more abstract things. Whereas if like they're spending their whole time just trying to be basically competent, it's crazy. Like realistically flying something in space is so hard. And it's like you could lean all the way into that and make it incredibly realistic, and then all people are going to spend their time thinking about and working on is like, how do I adjust my velocity to like actually like be precise? And it's like, then maybe you don't have any leftover cognitive brain space to think about something else. Easy to get into, hard to master. I think that's more of a result than it is like a starting point. Like I think if you follow some of these principles, you can get there for sure. Where you're like, it's easy to pick up and engage on a basic level, but there's a lot more. Yeah, I think that's a good goal to have. And it's tough. It's tough to have both accessibility and depth. It's tough. It's tough to go wide and deep at the same time, you know. There's an extra credits video about this that discusses the difference between complexity and depth. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to study and to think about a lot. All right. I think the next series of tasks that we have are actually pretty involved, because we have to basically rewrite the auto tiler for all the edge cases of the auto tiler. That's going to be pretty big. I don't think we're going to do that right now, honestly. So I think we might wrap it up for today, which is a shame because a lot of people are hanging out and it's been really nice. I started the day out basically streaming like nobody was watching, but it's been nice coming in, everyone coming in, having the conversation. A lot of new faces today, which is really cool. Appreciate that. That's why I like streaming on the weekend. I feel like I get a different crowd necessarily than I do during the weekday. But yeah, I think we're gonna save the next step of this. I'll try to do some preliminary work on my own on Monday and maybe a little over the weekend. And then I think we're gonna come back Tuesday and we'll see what's left to fix the rest of the auto tiler stuff. And then hopefully we'll get back on track with what we actually want to be doing. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I really appreciate everyone hanging out. I don't know why anyone does. It's bizarre to me. Anyone that the people like spending time here, but thank you. I'm kind of endlessly grateful for it. Hydrate, thanks for the hydrate. I am feeling a bit parched. My voice is starting to go, which I think is probably the main reason why I should wrap this up. Not to give excuses. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I gruesome. Oh, thanks for coming in just to say thanks, just to share gratitude. I right back at you. I appreciate you spending part of your weekend here with me. Um, crazy. Good luck on everything you're working on. Have a good night. Thank you. You too, Sapphire. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.